Good evening, everyone. This is Nick Baisley from FilmSnobbery.com, and tonight we have a special guest for you in this special audio edition of Film Snobbery. We have Canadian up-and-coming actress Emily Schooley. So, hello, Emily. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Nick? You make me sound so official and stuff.
Well, you are official. You are an actress. You should be treated as such.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome. So, you are Canadian, and you have a little bit of experience in both working in both the TV and the Canadian movie scene. What are you? Can you compare that at all to kind of what you've heard of the way that we kind of work as far as our industry is concerned, the Hollywood industry, as it were?
To be honest, I don't know if I could pinpoint, specific differences. Like, I'd say, Canadians work just as hard as Americans do for the film. Just, I think currently, we have maybe a little bit less recognition than, say, LA or New York. Like, people say, oh, Toronto is New York North, and we also have a lot of stuff going out on the West Coast, like BC and all that. But
yeah,
I think it's. Oh, no, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, no, we actually, we've noticed a rising trend over the years of a lot of stuff coming out over from Vancouver, and it's all usually good stuff, and a lot of good talent coming out of there, too.
Yeah, I think it's just, like on a global scale, people tend to think, oh, LA or New York before they think Toronto or BC or, Saskatchewan and that kind of thing.
Yeah, no.
I'm just totally picking random places, by the way.
I figure I'm just like anything that we say will sound Canadian, and at that point, and maybe if you throw in a hockey team or two in there, it'll be good, right?
Yeah, either that or make the whole Avenue Q joke about my girlfriend who lives in Canada. I'm sure there's someone out there that's heard that song at least.
So you've been a busy girl recently. You've been very busy. You're currently working on promoting a Shadow Shall Fall.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to be at the sci-fi convention in Toronto in, 2 weeks. It's really coming up fast. The convention's called Polaris.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is Polaris? Give it for those of us who aren't out on the parlance.
Okay, it's Toronto's premier sci-fi convention. Previously it was, I think, called Toronto Trek, but they've opened it up to other shows like, BSG, Stargate, pretty much anything that falls into the sci-fi, supernatural, like, Doctor Who, Torchwood, fun shows like that too.
Excellent. All right, and so now A Shadow Shall Fall, forgive me, that is a television series, isn't it?
Yeah, it's independently produced right here where I'm from, Kitchener-Waterloo. We shot the first season pretty much every day last summer. Like, we spent, between, I'd say mid-June till the end of August shooting, nearly every day. We ended up, I think, with over 30 or 40 hours of footage total. And from that, we're making an hour-long pilot and 10 half-hour episodes.
Now, is this something that has already been picked up, or is it something that's being shopped around currently?
We're currently shopping around. It's actually, the series is still in post-production. There's still some special effects to be done. We're still waiting on some music from the composers. For me, I'm one of the lead actresses, but I also worked as production manager and kind of media girl, PR, that sort of thing.
Nice. Yeah, and I know that you guys actually, you just even had another interview on what was it? It was that channel. Yeah, that was
a couple weeks ago in June. That channel's an internet station located out of Toronto.
Okay.
So, we talked about a lot of the projects at FBN Multimedia, which is the production company for Shadow Shall Fall. We talked about kind of a lot of the projects that we did with that company.
Okay, and so what's if you had to pitch me this project, The Shadow Shall Fall, if you had to pitch this to me and say, okay, this is what it's about, and this is why you should watch it. Now, give me the proper PR pitch for this.
Oh man, you're totally putting me on the spot with this one. Anyway, oh no, you know me, I'll totally babble, but anyway, A Shadow Shall Fall is basically about these two young agents, Catherine O'Bannon and Mark Rice, who find out that their cushy government desk job is anything but. They actually work for a group known as the Agency, which has existed for hundreds of years in various forms that serve to basically suppress the paranormal, keep it out of everyday society so that the innocent people don't get hurt. So the first season of the show is basically about O'Bannon and Rice learning about coping with the fact that they work for this organization, and basically, all the things in their nightmares are real. Ghosts, demons, vampires, werewolves, they exist in society, and all of a sudden it's their job to suppress them, deal with them, and, not get killed in the process.
So is this a kind of a combination of, almost like a Canadian X-Files almost, like is it more, well, which I guess actually isn't at least one of them from Canada.
Well, X-Files shot the first 4 seasons in Vancouver, but I almost hate, I was going to say, I almost hate stigmatizing it, but, I would say that A Shadow Shall Fall is kind of like a combination of X-Files, Buffy, a little bit of Torchwood, a little bit of Men in Black without the aliens.
Okay. Now, are you in the male lead? Do you kind of have that almost moonlighting-esque kind of, is there a romantic tension there, or is it more straight up like, we're partners and we're going ahead and we're just going to beat all these guys back, or is it a fighting thing, or is it more of like, hey, now cut it out? Is it like procedural drama, or is it more of an action type of television show?
When you watch the episodes, people are actually going to get a bit of both. There's some, this is how we do things in the office, but there's also field missions. There's a lot of tense moments, and in terms of, romantic interest or not, I'm totally going to leave that up to the viewers to figure out.
Okay. Yeah, I figure if I can ask you about, one question that has like 10 sets of questions, hopefully you'll remember everything I asked you.
No problem.
So you're working on this. A lot of it's in post now, and you're shopping it around. Now, being from Canada, you guys have a little bit of a different. One difference in system that you guys have is, I guess a lot of when you shoot things in Canada, you generally get a lot of funding from the Canadian government. A lot of your television is produced by the government and put out there. They're very independent friendly. They're very and it looks like they take a lot of chances that really end up working out. I mean, a perfect example of a Canadian show that's a favorite of mine from a child is Kids in the Hall. And, in SCTV and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you guys have a rich history of independently produced television that's, made its way down to the States from what I know. And, so are you guys getting, some partial funding from the government? Are you taking advantage of that at all? Or how kind of did you guys get involved with the production?
Well, for The Shadow Shall Fall, we actually had some private investors that put some money into the project. Generally, with the way Canadian funding works, is you have to apply for grants, that kind of thing. Actually, I don't know too much about the whole process, but yeah, like basically, for us anyway, the project at this point is funded mostly by investors, partly out of our own pocket, which is, kind of the danger of producing things independently. But I also think that we have a really good chance of this appealing to a wide variety of people, and as such, getting it picked up by a network.
I gotcha. Now, not to make it all about us, as Americans generally do, but has the economic issues that we've had really, has it affected production of movies and television shows and stuff like that on your side? Are you guys feeling the squeeze a little bit, or do you find? Oh,
definitely.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, like production in Canada, I would say has dropped a fair bit. When we might have 100 casting calls in a month now, maybe there's 50, and the thing is, too, especially like around the Toronto area, there's, maybe 500 or 1,000 people competing for 2 or 3 of the same roles. So, I'd say, the competition's a bit more fierce. Everybody's kind of looking for more work, that sort of thing.
Now, that kind of leads me into, and thank you for the segue on that one. As an up-and-coming actress, you're a working actress, getting your face out there, and you're, I'm sure, doing a lot of auditions, and you and I have chatted privately. I know that you do a lot of auditions. What are some of the challenges that you face as an actress? Both from the perspective of being in competition with other actors and actresses for a role, but also finding roles and finding and just trying to work and find work.
Well, I think the main thing is, you have to always be hungry for more, or be on the lookout for the next project, or, who knows someone that knows someone that knows someone that might need you, as opposed to, the next girl down the line, that kind of thing. But, for me personally, it's definitely, the thing is, you know what, I'm a size 9'10", but by Hollywood standards, I'm the fat girl. So I've definitely had a lot of, roles, not a lot of roles, but one or two here and there, that someone who's unfortunately 20 pounds lighter but can't bloody act their way out of a paper bag, they might get it over me because the producer says, well, she fits this whatever better, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And now, you, now what question do I want to ask you first? I have two that, really kind of, for me, kind of go hand in hand. What got you into acting?
Oh, I've always been, I guess, inclined towards it. Even when I was, 4 and 5 years old, I would write plays that my cats and my stuffed animals would perform, and I would totally make my family come and watch in my backyard. So I've always kind of had an interest in performing, and I don't know,
charge them a loony or two?
Something like that, yeah. Or how about I get out of chores for a week and you have to come and watch this, or
nice.
Not to make it sound like it's all about me, but when you're 4 and 5, it's me now. Look at this. Look at how special this is.
Well, the good thing is we're interviewing you. It is completely about you now, so you should be in heaven. So you've also kind of going in developing as an actress. You've also done a lot of theater acting as well.
Yeah, I've done, I'd say, a lot more film than theater in the last couple of years, but a lot of the stuff I did, elementary school, high school, first couple of years of university was way more theater-based.
Okay. And do you have a favorite play that you've done in theater, or I shouldn't even call it necessarily a play, a production that you've done in theater that you have a favorite of?
Oh, that's asking me to pick. I'm not good at picking favorites, but
trying to think of your children. You always have a favorite child. Any parent will tell you.
Except they'll pretend that they don't. But oh man, well for me, I don't know. I like the plays that are a little not quite mainstream. A few years ago, I did Carol Churchill's Top Girls, and that was pretty fun. I really kind of enjoy the way she writes, and that some of her material is a little bit more surreal, kind of plays with the audience a bit. That's the stuff I can kind of really get behind.
Would you be opposed to continue working in theater as time goes on, or is?
Oh, not at all. No,
okay, or do you want to concentrate more on acting in TV and movies?
It's basically kind of whatever comes my way. Theater and film are really two completely different beasts. Because, for theater, you're big, you're loud, you're out there. It's a live audience, so, it's almost like the audience feeds your energy. If they're dead, if they're not really caring what's happening on stage, it makes it, 10 times harder. Whereas when you're doing film or television, you're, basically in a studio. Everybody's there to work on the production, and that's you really have to scale your energy back. It's basically being a normal person versus being really loud and out there and dramatic and projecting. And, they both definitely have their merits, though, I'm not going to lie.
Well, it's definitely. I can definitely imagine that it must be a challenge in the theater if you aren't getting that energy from the audience. It's probably a lot like going on a date with me and really having to pretend to care. And believe me, I always notice that glazed look in her eye. No. It's I can imagine you would actually have to probably work a little harder at acting on a stage, especially if you have an audience that's not quite as receptive, because you have to really put more into the role to show that you're not feeling that.
Oh, for sure. And you have to, push and push more. And the same, one of the biggest differences between theater and film is that, in theater, you screw something up, you have to go with it. Whereas film, you can go, oh, fuck, I totally fucked that line. And, the director will say cut, and you do it again, right?
Yes, I've seen some of your outtakes.
Oh, I'm definitely a perfectionist, so, being able to do it again and do it better, that's something that definitely appeals to me, even though there's also definitely a time where it's okay, it's good enough, let's move on. And I'm always no, but I could still do this better this time, and, I'm really bad for that.
Do you find that do you shoot a lot on film, or do you find that you're shooting a lot more on digital now?
I'd say it's definitely more digital media at this point because, to be honest, it's cheaper. It really does seem to be kind of where the industry as a whole is heading. Like, look at how popular web series are now. I work a lot with people who are in that, and they are struggling as well because it's really more of a recognition thing. They're trying to prove themselves as being a legitimate venue. It's kind of like the same uphill battle that theater had when silent movies were first introduced, and then obviously they went over to talking pictures and stuff. Which I think you guys just got the talking pictures up there, right? Because we all know that you guys just live in the woods, and you recently or in igloos with our dog sleds, of course.
Look, we all know it's like Manitoba, but not you, right? No.
Here we just have our Tim Hortons, eh?
Oh, what is that all about?
And our Molson Canadian beer, and actually, it's funny because I haven't ever encountered that. Like, and there's been a few people that make the stupid American comments, but the only thing like I see different between Canada and the States really is, there's that big border. Whereas like a lot of my good friends are actually down in the States. One of my best friends lives in Cincinnati, and seriously, like I go down there for a weekend and I come back drawling a little bit.
Well, I think that might also have a little bit to do with you being an actress, and as much as you probably pick up on accents a lot easier than some people. It's pretty horrible because another friend of mine here in town, we watch Doctor Who and Torchwood every Tuesday, and by the end of those 2 hours, I'm definitely slipping into the good English accents. Guest number 7 is it's nice to have only 2 choices for coffee. Oh my God, Seattle, 2 coffee shops every block.
Well, actually, I think we have more choices than that because we have our Starbucks. There's Timmy's being Tim Hortons. There's a few other places. There's Second Cup. There's a Timothy's, which is a totally different chain. And actually, here in Waterloo, if I can put in a little pitch, one of my absolute favorite little coffee shops is this little hole in the wall called Whole Lotta Gelada.
Whole Lotta Gelada. I really like that name. Hey, and actually, to the guests that are here, I'll take a second off topic. For the guests that are here, guest 4, 7, and 8, it looks like they're coming and going. If you guys actually register with TalkShoe, we can refer to you more so by name rather than guest 4, 7, and 8. And at the end of the episode here, we are going to be taking call-ins. So there's a number down at the bottom, and if you want to actually ask Emily any questions about her acting or about the process or anything, or if you want to hire her as a photographer, the number's right down there, and we'll be taking some questions, and feel free to to do that. Getting back on topic and into another thing. So you actually had, speaking about you as an actress, you've actually had quite a bit of training from improv to stage combat, physical acting, stuff like that. Do you feel that a lot of actors really need to kind of go through that kind of training to, they can only make it so far basically on natural talent, that they really should experience a lot of these other things? Or do you feel that, it's just like, look, you just do whatever the part calls for and play it by ear?
Oh, I think it's absolutely essential to have some kind of training because, you're going to eventually end up in a situation where either you don't know what to do or you don't know how to bring out the character properly. Or, like, this is something even I hit now. Like, it's good to have an acting coach or someone to give feedback and say, you're not quite hitting it, try this. And it's kind of good to have, a little grab bag of different strategies and a few good people to kind of, nudge you in the right direction if you're getting a little off track.
Okay. Now, can you cry on command?
It really depends on the script. There's been a few scenes, and I'm totally not going to spoil the end of season 1 of The Shadow Shall Fall, but I definitely do some crying at the end of the first season, and like every time I read the script, even in rehearsals, I would frickin' just start bawling. For me, it's definitely, as long as there's an emotional connection in there.
Mm-hmm.
If someone's like, cry right now, I'd be like, no. But certain lines, like they're just really real, really visceral, and at that point I have no problem connecting and just, freaking bawling.
Now, how do you prepare for a role? Like, you get, let's say, you get a script and you read it and you've tried out for it and you're hired, blah, blah, blah. Now okay, I've got like a month before I've got to, I've got to be on set and I got to bring my A game. How are you going to prepare for that role? And I'll give you an example because I know every role is different. Let's say, how did you prepare for your role on A Shadow Shall Fall?
It's quite a process, and like for me, to be honest too, it really does depend on the piece, really does depend on the script. But I will look at, okay, like I like to kind of get inside the character's head and go, how do they feel about this? How are they going to react to this? That kind of thing. Understand where they're coming from, and then kind of how I can bring that out and show the audience what's going on with them. Because for me too, one of the things I think is actually really important to understand about acting is you're not pretending, you're not lying, you're telling the truth.
So you really try to more so be that character, so that way you don't come off like you're acting as that character.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, and to me too, like I have the understanding of I might react to the situation in A way, but my character is going to react in B way, a totally different direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, now as far as getting roles, getting yourself out there, you're like, we're saying you're up and coming. You've been in a lot of stuff already, but you're kind of, you're still promoting yourself as a working actress. What are some of the things and some of the tips that you can give actors and actresses who are trying to get out there? What are some of the ways that you kind of get your face and get your name out there? And I know that you tend to work with a lot of people you've worked with before on stuff, but it's, how do you kind of keep yourself working, get yourself out there?
Well, the absolute first thing I would say is, if you can do anything else and be happy with it, do that instead. Because, like, for me, like, I said, even 4, 5, 6, I was writing plays, I was putting them on, acting is something I live for and bleed for. But, there, just a tangent for a second, there's totally days I wish I could, be happy doing a desk job or, be happy working in a warehouse or something. But it's just, I'm not happy doing that. I'm happy going for the acting thing. Even if, I'm miserable and I don't necessarily have a role that day, it's still something that, I absolutely need to do. And to me, if you need to do it, you keep throwing yourself out there. You might get rejected 100 times, but that 101th time someone's going to go, hey, you're perfect for this part. And then, you're bloody on top of the world again. And then the main thing is, you just keep putting yourself out there, keep taking chances. But that's basically what I would say.
Now, you've been how many years would you say, from a professional standpoint, have you been acting at this point?
Oh, I'd say, counting my university career, 5, 6 years now.
Okay, now.
Like really kind of immersing myself into learning and trying to make myself perfect. Haven't got there yet.
Oh, that's okay. It's a process. Now, from your first productions that you did till now, I mean, do you look back on those and say, oh, I could have done it better, or I could have, do you look at it as an experience where, you see, that you've come further in your career, both from, as an actress and also, like, tell me the process of when you look over, the career you've had so far, what do you see?
Oh, I'm definitely, like I said, the horrible, horrible perfectionist. So it's always, I could have done that better. But at the same time, too, I can always go, between this production and now, I've, grown in this way. I've learned how to handle that better, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, or too, I've learned how to kind of get inside the character's head better. Just to kind of go back and answer your other question a bit more, another thing I really find for me that connects me to the character is, funnily enough, clothing. Like, especially if it's something that I wouldn't myself normally wear.
Mm-hmm.
Like one short film I did a couple weeks ago, Initiation. I was playing kind of like a mafioso type lady, totally unflappable. I'd kill you if it suited my needs. And, for that I was all Miss Sudie Suderson and, like, a big fancy business suit. And for that really brought me into the character because, it's someone who's not necessarily higher stature, but that sort of thing. Like, to be that character, I move differently. I was a little bit more upright, like very kind of rigid. And plus, too, like with, the business suit, the thing, like, a CEO would wear instead of an actor, if that makes any sense.
Sure. No, I understand. No, it's all. I
my previous comment about babbling like an idiot, too.
That's okay. That's why I can edit this later. No.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's staying in, by the way.
Pardon?
That's staying in.
We will, just a tangent for a second. For A Shadow Shall Fall, we do a few podcasts every now and again. And then we kind of do the same thing. We babble like an idiot for an hour and then kind of dance a good 10 minutes of what was actually content.
Hey, don't worry. We understand. We do that every week. We're kind of doing it now. Speaking of A Shadow Shall Fall, if someone was looking for some more information on Shadow Shall Fall, where could they go?
The best place right now would actually be to go on Facebook and search A Shadow Shall Fall. We have a fan page on there. I think we're pretty close to 300 fans at this point, and to me that's pretty impressive for something that hasn't even seen, it's not been on the network yet. There's a couple trailers for it on YouTube, but aside from that, that's really the only content that's out there. So I'm just, really ridiculously impressed and happy that we have nearly 300 fans already.
Nice. And obviously you were on Twitter, which is actually where you and I kind of met. Yeah,
Twitter's great. I think I started it originally, to stalk celebrities a little bit. So, and just get to know people too. Like, for me, I think even if I become quote unquote famous one day, I'm still going to be like, hey, I'm so and so. Let's sit down and have a coffee.
Oh, you're not famous. What the hell am I not? What am I doing talking to you right now? You're famous
cute.
in my eyes, Emily. It's okay.
Yeah.
Anyone who's doing what I can't do is doing a good job. That's why I criticize. Those who can't teach, and then those who can't teach criticize, right?
I don't know. I think I'd make a horrible. This is whole other tangent, but like throughout university, my parents were like, well, why don't you teach high school drama? And I'm like, oh God, no, I'd make a horrible teacher. So I don't know where that throws me in the chain of things, but there you go. Another random little trivia thing for you.
Now you also you kind of have a side career. You kind of quote unquote do your own thing. You do photography as well.
Yes, I do. It's actually I've made the joke/observation that I'm balancing at least two careers here because I first picked up a still camera. Like that was kind of another thing I'd been doing all my life. Like I used to go and steal my mother's little 35mm camera and take photos of my cat. And 20 odd years later, I have a nice big Nikon camera, and I still compulsively photograph my cats. not much has changed there, really.
But no, you do it professionally. I've seen some of your work online, and it looks delightful.
Well, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Have you ever been on set doing as a still photographer, working like that? Because that could be another avenue for you as well. That if to get you further into the industry, but kind of more not from an acting perspective, but you'd still be in there, and they could be like, oh, and by the way, she also acts.
Yeah, I've done a little bit. Like actually, mostly on A Shadow Shall Fall, I would grab the on-set camera and take photos now and again. I haven't really done too much outside of that. Mostly right now what I'm shooting is a lot of urban decay. So basically, like I will go and sneak into abandoned buildings and photograph what I find.
Okay. So you also just recently did the 140.
Yeah, that was actually a project that started on Twitter. There's a Irish filmmaker named Frank Kelly over in Ireland, to sound completely redundant, because I just realized what I was saying. Anyway, so basically what that project was 140 filmmakers from around the world filmed 140 seconds of talking about kind of what connected them to their home and that moment in time.
Okay.
And we all filmed at the same time globally, so I thought that was pretty cool.
And is that available online as well for people to view if they wanted to?
There is an IMDb listing for the project, and if you look up, if you search 140, you'll find Frank Kelly's blog about it. What he's actually doing with that project is he's taking the footage from the 140 filmmakers and editing it down into something that he's going to submit to festivals. So it's not available yet, but it will be eventually.
Oh, I look forward to that. Hopefully that makes its way down here.
I think he's planning on submitting it to various places around the world. So.
Oh, yeah, because that's right. He's Irish.
Yeah. It was actually kind of cool because another filmmaker I know mentioned the project to me about a week before it got started. And so I kind of, I rushed home to my computer and emailed Frank, and he's like, well, the project, like, originally there were no spots left, but at the last minute a couple of people dropped out. So I got to fill in, which I thought, really exciting.
Well, that's yeah. So what? So let's talk also. Like I said, we were saying before, you're going to be at Polaris soon. Now you guys have a booth there. Is that you're going to be doing signings and whatnot?
Yeah, we're going to have a booth there all weekend. So, if anybody wants to come and hang out, chat, get an autograph, get some cool, basically swag from the show, we'll be there all weekend. Yeah, swag.
Now, where exactly is Polaris for those? Let's see. Let's say we've got a couple of viewers maybe on the American border, or also maybe even in Canada, who are looking to get their Polaris on. Where is that exactly?
Okay, it's happening just outside of Toronto, Ontario.
Okay.
I'm just going to double check the hotel information, make sure I don't give you the wrong information here. But it's happening. Okay, it's happening at the Sheridan Parkway Toronto North Hotel, which is in Richmond Hill, Ontario. It's, a little north of Toronto, basically.
Just a little north of Toronto. So yeah, guys, just turn left at the Sasquatch, and it's right next to the Tim Hortons, I'm sure.
Oh, I've tried navigating by Tim Hortons, and you get horribly lost because some cities will have one like pretty much every corner, which just goes to show you how addicted we Canadians are to our coffee. But
oh, I'm from Massachusetts. We have Dunkin' Donuts. I'm quite familiar with being addicted to coffee. We're kind of one of those places that we have a coffee shop on every corner, if not two or three.
Yeah, well, it's what keeps you going. You can't have too much blood in the caffeine stream, right?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm sure when you heard you were going to be on the illustrious FilmSnobbery.com, you were like, I need some coffee because I know this is going to be a snoozer.
I wasn't thinking that at all. I was going, yay, interview, and people get to hear me babble about myself for an hour or whatever.
That's got to be weird a little bit. Just be like, yeah, people want to hear me talk about myself. I
think part of the reason I babble like an idiot is because I'm not really sure entirely what to say. Like, I don't know. For me, it's really weird almost sometimes being an actor because I'm like, hey, I'm here. I want to do my stuff, but I don't know. I think I'm actually kind of crap at promoting myself, talking about myself in any kind of sensical fashion for any length of time.
Well, I mean, you don't necessarily have to be good at talking about yourself because, from what I've seen, if for those of you who have never been to Emily's page, it's www.emilyschooley.com. There actually is a place up there for testimonials of what people have said about her. And it seems like a lot of the people you've worked with, which I'm sure you've paid them to say this, that apparently a lot of people really enjoy working with you, and that you're very professional on set, and that you're going places. So that's good, and that's one of the reasons, other reasons why we wanted to get a hold of you. We're like cigarette companies. We want to get you while you're young.
Suck me in, right?
Exactly. You can be a film snobbery person for life, and then recommend us to all your friends, as it were. No, but we wanted to talk to an up-and-coming actress because I think that it's one thing to talk to people who have been in the industry for 20 years and have done a variety of projects, but it's another person to get it's another thing to get someone that is a little more. They're still in their nascent years, and it's not that's not your a cut on your professional or acting ability at all. It's just that you're still working that career, and you haven't quote unquote gone Hollywood yet, or whatnot. So it's interesting to get a perspective of someone who actually has to struggle to get a part rather than having parts offered to them. To go through that audition. What exactly is the auditioning process like? Do you have any stories from like any really bad auditions, or do you end up getting auditioned by any creepy people besides me?
You're not creepy at all. You're pretty upfront, which I appreciate. But I've had a few, and this is less so now, but when I was really, really starting out as an actor, you look on places like Craigslist, and there would be people that would, put up job postings, but it's really, some weird guy living in his mom's basement, and he just wants to take naked photos, that kind of thing.
I see.
So those I've kind of learned how to weed out now at this point, but... Well,
I need to take that post down, and it didn't work.
I like how you keep swooping those in there. But anyway, the audition process is basically, right now I do have an agent, so he'll submit me for roles, but, working totally independently before I had an agent, I would also often submit myself. I would find project breakdowns kind of however I could, and, you throw a headshot and resume at them and go, please, please, please pick me. And then when you get the, if you get an audition, it's the same thing, try to figure out what the casting directors want to see, kind of how you can make yourself stand out. And I think it's, again, the whole please, please pick me, which I don't know how many actors would admit to, but I'm sure that's what everybody's thinking,
I'm sure. No. It's definitely a system where that I can see that it's tough, because that all the unless the director is smart, I'm sure there are a lot of roles that end up getting filled quite early on with friends and stuff like that, or people they've worked with in the past. And I can understand it must be difficult to work within that system, and also kind of, you're trying out for stuff and hope that you can be better than the next guy, because it kind of, unfortunately with Hollywood, there's always going to be someone, Hollywood, or in your case, the Canadian Hollywood. I'm using Hollywood as an industry term more than anything.
Rather than the actual location.
Yeah. It's the same worldwide. There's always going to be someone, maybe younger, prettier, or maybe someone who's, just ingenu and has those acting chops, down. I mean, there's, for every Baldwin, there's got to be a, other Baldwin, I guess.
And what it'll come down to sometimes is, it's whatever the director or casting director has in mind, and maybe you could be a better actor, but someone looks the part, or like you said too, sometimes their friend or nephew or cousin or brother, sister's dog or whatever will come in at the last minute. They'll go, oh hey, we already know you, we're going to work with you instead, or I'm presuming anyway, but sometimes it'll be, a favor in the industry to scoot someone else in, or, as they say, nothing's certain but death and taxes, right?
Exactly. And we had mentioned that you participated in the 140, and, I noticed that you also did something called the 143. I'm assuming that that's not part of the trilogy.
No, that was actually a completely different project. But I'm thinking, if I keep getting numbered projects, how long till I get to number one? Ha ha ha. That was on the
Although in that case, you kind of went the opposite way, didn't you? No. Or which came first? 143 came first, though, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. So.
Yeah, there you go. So what was that all about? And is that available at all for anyone to view?
That's actually the project I can't talk too much about.
Oh.
It's not a secret per se, but it is kind of a test project for something a little larger. So,
okay.
I kind of hate to be secretive, but unfortunately, that's one I can't actually talk too much about at this point.
You need a little mystery. It's okay.
I just feel like I'm the kid in the candy store. Ha ha ha! I've got something you don't. But I don't know. I'm also really really horrible at keeping secrets. So.
Well,
it's kind of the same. I'm a horrible liar.
Well, that's good. It's good to know that I'll be able to spot that a mile away. Like that time where you said you were an actress, and I was like, wait a minute. No, I'm kidding. I kid.
Oh, man.
So
that's okay.
You So you definitely have had kind of a wide variety of projects. I notice that you do tend to skew a lot towards horror and sci-fi, which, believe me, I don't. I definitely don't. I don't.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, those are kind of my more fun roles. Like, you know what? Sure, I can play the girl next door. Sure, I can play, you know, sweet little innocent whatever. But like the roles I tend to prefer are kind of the meatier ones with, you know, maybe a little bit of the bad girl or lots of hand-to-hand combat, or, you know, give me a big giant sword to swing around. I'm good with that.
Interesting. Do you prefer a more physical role, or do you like having to you know, go through the emotional roles as well?
I think both really have their place. Like, for me, my ideal kind of role is something that I'm going to do that I know is going to shake the audience up in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So whether I'm, you know, the freaking, you know, creepy otherworldly thing, or whether I'm kind of like, you know, the badass girl that everyone kind of loves to hate, those are the kind of roles, like, I really prefer doing.
Okay. So now let's skip ahead. You know, 10 years. Let's say 5 years from now. Actually, let's go a year from now, because let's be honest, you're probably going that way. When you are in celebrity rehab and you're just coming out.
Oh man.
And you have to go up to that podium and you have to, you know, give your excuse of, it wasn't my fault, or you have to, you have to give the press their quote for their headline there for Us Weekly or whatever the Canadian equivalent is. What exactly do you think you're going to say to people?
Well, we'll see. You know, celebrity rehab assumes that you think I'm going to get caught doing something.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, I figured you'd be pulling like a Lindsay Lohan type of situation. You know, constantly forgetting underwear and wrecking other people's cars.
But that's not quite my style, you know. I make no comment on the underwear thing, but the wrecking cars is kind of passé as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, okay. So you're above that. Okay. So you're, let's say you end up getting into you end up going the way of Winona Ryder, and you're just, you're shoplifting everything, and then you go on a weekend binge with Corey Feldman. Let's say you two end up, you go to rehab, as part of, it's court ordered, and let's say you come out and you walk up to that podium, and what are you going to tell the papers?
See, again, you're assuming the whole I'm going to get caught.
Okay, so you're gonna blame Corey Feldman, aren't you? You're gonna be like, Corey told me to do it.
Oh, I totally would, yeah. I'd pull, the sweet little innocent girl eyes, and like I said, I can't lie worth a damn, but maybe someone out there would believe me.
Fair enough. All right.
Yeah.
You trumped me on that one. I like that. That's good. She's see everyone. She's quick on her feet. That means improv. She's good to go on that. So, casting agent. Listening.
Well, no, it's more too that I can get away with the good girl or the bad girl, because people don't,
There you go.
Like I said, it's the whole you have to get caught to be proven bad, right?
Well, I guess so. I mean, I guess it depends on what lens you're being viewed from, right?
Yeah, the thing is, too, I think, well, it's like you said, too, people like a little bit of mystery. They like a little bit of mayhem. And, sometimes it's more fun to bring it than watch it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So do you, again, we had mentioned that you, or when I say we, I mean I don't know, I wanted to throw in the royal we there, but I mentioned that you do tend to skew more so, it seems like, towards like a horror, sci-fi for stuff. Not that I'm trying to pigeonhole you or put you in a niche or anything, but it seems like you definitely seem to like those genres. Do you have any influences or anything? Do you have any favorite movies from those genres that you really like? And maybe let's say all options open. Let's say they were going to have a franchise of, or they were going to reinvent or something like that. Where would you see yourself in that? Like, if you could be in your favorite movie, what movie would it be from those genres?
Oh, that's a tough question. Like, just to give you kind of an idea of where I'm coming from, I grew up watching, Buffy, Angel, X-Files, so that's probably where a little bit of influence comes from, I think.
Okay.
But right now, to give you my top 3 favorite movies, they are Bolt, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and Battle Royale. The last of which is this really cool Japanese live-action movie from I think mid-90s or so. And it's basically a bunch of grade 9 kids that are sent to an island and have 3 days in which they have to kill each other off.
Yep, no, I'm actually very familiar with that movie. So I'll take it a step farther. And it's kind of like reality, reality TV gone to the absolute extreme. It's gone to a point where their society has gotten so bad that in order to control the children, they pick the worst class and they send that class to an island. And the idea is the last one alive gets to live and gets brought back into society.
Yeah, pretty much. And like for me, another one of my kind of influences is, I'm not so secretly geeky. I definitely grew up watching like Sailor Moon, other animes, and actually 4 years ago I got to spend a month in Japan.
Oh, really? And
yeah.
was that for business or pleasure or both?
Kind of both. It was while I was still in university, so I got to do like the whole language exchange type thing, and part of the reason I ended up going over there was to work on my undergraduate thesis. I actually kind of rewrote some, I guess, kind of classical Japanese fairy tales into a play, which is still sitting on my computer, not completely finished, and I don't know if it ever will be, because again, the whole horrible perfectionist thing.
Well, see, that's why you have to you get yourself, you just do it, and then you get yourself an editor, and you just say, well, it's their problem now.
But see, again, as a perfectionist, I don't know if I would trust another person to make my work better, because I'd go, well, what about this, and what about this, and, then they'd quit on me in a huff, and it would all be over. I
know the feeling. So let's see, you've got A Shadow Shall Fall, you've got Polaris coming up. What else is in the hopper? What can you tell us? What can you talk about?
Well, speaking of the whole horror genre, I'm currently kind of pre-cast to be playing another character in horror in a remake of an H.P. Lovecraft story.
Ooh.
For anybody who's familiar with Lovecraft, we're going to be doing The Thing on the Doorstep. That's going to shoot kind of later this summer. It's still very much in pre-production right now, but I've got that coming up.
Is this another indie type of situation, or is this something that is already?
Yeah, it's indie, but kind of with the eye of sending it to film festivals, getting ourselves out there, sort of thing.
Excellent. Now, do you generally, if you have a project that is in a film festival, do you try to tour with it as much as possible, or what's your general way of supporting what you're doing? Obviously, you're always up for interviews, obviously, but have you been to any film festivals with any of your projects?
Oh, for sure. Actually, last year with another film I did called Orange Girl, we went to a couple different festivals that played at. One of those was actually up a little bit more north of Toronto in a place called Innisfil. That was the Wreck Beach Film Festival. So I don't know if anybody's listening from there now, but there's a great guy that runs it, Captain Lawson. And, for me, too, a lot of it is I like to go to festivals and stuff just to meet more people and kind of hang out. So, anytime something of mine is screening at a festival, it's like, yeah, let's go. Let's meet people. Let's see what other people are doing. That kind of thing.
That sounds actually like we've been doing the film festival circuit ourselves, and it is a lot of fun. It's a good, obviously, it's a good opportunity to network, but really, you do meet some great people. We've had we've been very fortunate to meet a lot of directors of stuff that we've reviewed, which is nice because sometimes it's kind of like, where the hell did you get that idea?
Oh, no kidding. And you can kind of pick the brains a little bit, or even to just see what other people are up to and what they're creating. And I don't know. I just did. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. It's your interview.
See, I'm doing the whole polite Canadian thing there.
Oh, right, yeah. And I'm doing the whole stupid American thing here.
I never said that. People are totally going to misquote me on that one now, I'm sure.
Oh, believe me, it's implied.
Implied is not necessarily true.
Depends on you. But you were saying.
Okay, now that I'm totally derailed.
Yes.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I don't know, for me, I just enjoy being around kind of other creative people because I find, in general, it's a good environment for going home with a bunch of new ideas and, well, maybe I'd like to try that, and, that could be a really cool idea, and that sort of thing.
Okay. And are there, do you have aspirations in the future for being the big Hollywood actress, a la, maybe I hate to throw out, only because one of the first ones that came to my mind, I would say like a Jessica Alba or a Megan Fox or Angelina Jolie. Notice I'm only saying the attractive stars because I'm sure you can go that way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Or do you more so want to stick to the the kind of be that indie darling, kind of the Winona Ryder, Parker Posey type of situation?
To be honest, I'd be really happy to go both ways, and I could totally do the red carpet thing, let someone else dress me up, and hopefully not fall flat on my face as I walk down it, kind of thing.
Well, it depends on how drunk you are at the time.
Again, with the getting caught in public.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, no, for me, I don't know. At some point, I think I'd like to take on Hollywood, but I also feel like sometimes, maybe I'm a little too real, maybe I'm a little too edgy for them. That's why they haven't been knocking me up yet.
You'll change your mind once they convert you.
I don't think so. One of my not necessarily problems, some people think it is that I tend to be pretty outspoken, and if it looks like bullshit, I'm going to call it bullshit.
Sure. I know that feeling. Although I will say a lot of people recently only have accused us of being a little too soft on some films, and I tell them, I'm like, look, if it's an independent film, you have to kind of be, because it's more of a learning experience for the director, and I treat the review as such.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, too, the difference between an independent film and a Hollywood film was about, the $25 million budget, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, that's the other half of that sentence was that if you spend $100 million on your project, and it sucks, then you've just wasted everybody's time and money, and that's unfortunate, and you really deserve to be reamed out for that. Although, as of recently, I don't know why I'm making this about me for a second, but hey, I'm gonna take a shot in the dark real quick. It looks like we actually got someone in here. The name is Jordis? Maybe? I don't know.
I think that is Jordis, who is a friend of mine here in Waterloo. So,
oh.
I'm guessing anyway, unless it's someone else with the same name, but...
Well, that's definitely not the most common name.
She's saying yes, so... Hey, Jordis, thanks for joining in.
Hopefully, by the way, feel free to call in. We're going to be doing the call-in section shortly. We had someone on the line earlier. Wasn't able to get to them only because we were saving it for later on. But that later on is definitely approaching. So, quite frankly, remember how I said I had 10 questions for you?
Yeah.
I was out of those about 20 questions ago.
Welcome to the improv thing, right? We just kind of keep rolling along, and whatever happens, happens.
Oh, are you kidding me? Thank God for hands-free. I'm pacing over right now going I'm looking around, kind of looking for objects that remind me of things.
Oh, see, my problem is I talk with my hands, and, it's a good thing nobody can see me unless, there's hidden paparazzi outside the window or something. But I definitely, I'm hand-wavy, I've had my cats wander by a couple times while we're talking and going, what the heck are you doing on the phone for so long?
You're just gesticulating wildly.
Pretty much, yeah. If I ever do get really famous, I'm going to have to get blackout curtains because, well, aside from the fact that I tend to walk around naked at home.
Okay, now. Note to self.
Canadian summers are warm. That's all I got to say.
I hear you. So you've got all these projects going on. What I was saying before kind of was that from a criticism standpoint, we tend to blame the director for a lot of problems, but really it is a collaborative thing. And I guess what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to spread the blame across the entire production. Please do. Do you see yourself? I mean, you're in a lot of different parts of movies. You've done a little bit of producing, a little bit of stuff, other roles within a production. Do you see yourself sitting in a director's seat at any particular time, or do you have some ideas for it?
Oh God, no. I'm happy to kind of sort of assistant direct and suggest a shot angle every now and again, but the thought of actually directing on my own makes me kind of curl up into a ball and make noises.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
To a ball and make noises. Okay.
Yeah, no, I've tried directing once. Actually, I did a short film last winter, and I'm just not the directing type, I don't think, at this point.
Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, the idea is that when you do an ensemble thing like this, is you surround yourself with people that are smarter than you in their areas. And that's, hopefully you get a successful production out of that.
Well, I don't know, I think that's kind of, the ideal for being on a film set is to have, I'm the directing expert, I'm the female acting expert, I'm the makeup expert, whatever. You want people with, good things to contribute, good ideas, skills, or, like, the thing is, too, I'm totally the firm believer, let someone give something a go and see how they do.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, you kind of want someone who can save your ass if you're making a total fool of yourself doing something, right?
Yes, absolutely. I tell people that I'm making a fool of myself they tell me I'm making a fool of myself all the time.
That's what friends are for.
Exactly. No, these aren't friends. They're just people off the street.
Yeah, no, see, that's one thing for me is, if I do something incredibly stupid, I kind of trust my friends are going to go, hey, that was really dumb. Why don't you do that again? And I go, right, that was really dumb.
I just say, oh, you're out of your mind. That was awesome. So let's go into a little bit, just very quickly, as we'll start to kind of wrap up a little bit, but I want to make sure that you get to plug absolutely everything that you're doing. Again, people want to see something on A Shadow Shall Fall. They can go to either your Facebook page. You can do a search for A Shadow Shall Fall. You also have some trailers and whatnot up on YouTube for that as well, right?
Yeah. Facebook and YouTube would be the two best places to check out for A Shadow Shall Fall. Or,
okay.
If you're anywhere near Toronto, come out for Polaris July 10th to 12th, because that's going to be a fun time. Like, we have a hotel room for the weekend, so there's probably going to be a little bit of partying, at night,
right.
But, like, we're definitely going to have the booth there. We're going to have some buttons with some, kind of fun phrases or quotes from the show. We're working on other swag, too, so there's going to be probably picture postcards and that kind of thing.
Fun stuff.
But, yeah.
Yes, everyone. It's all one of you that are left, but that's okay. That's okay, because hopefully this goes online. Hundreds of people see it, they hear it, and they check out your stuff, and maybe you get yourself another 100 fans or so on Facebook, and you go a little bit farther there. On top of that, if you actually want to view Miss Emily's demo reel, if you are, say, a casting agent or a director or something, and you're like, hey, I need a girl, she could be that girl. She's also, you can do you can do a search for her. I know your demo reel's on YouTube, or if you want to just get a direct link to it, you can actually go to www.emilyschooley.com, and you can check out her stuff there. Also check Emily out on Twitter at twitter.com/the_Emmy, so THE_MEI. And what else are we plugging today? I want to make sure we get everything.
Oh man, see now. Yeah, you definitely just did a better job of, promoting me than I have been doing it myself. I'd say the biggest thing right now is A Shadow Shall Fall. That's kind of the big project I have going on. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, I'm not sure when Initiation is going to be finished, but I think that's going to be touring the film festival circuit. If you want to check out information on that, the director, Travis Santina, has a website. You could search for him.
Okay.
Like I said, I feel kind of bad about the 143 because I can't talk about that, but...
Okay, we all know. Everyone, coming up soon, the 143, just everyone will know that it's out there, and you've done this now, it's called a teaser. You teased it, and now people are going to have to wait for it. They're going to salivate for it. It'll be like, a Pavlovian response when they hear the 143. They're going to be like, where is it? Where can I find it? And they're going to have to wait.
Well, actually, I was just thinking another thing. If people want to check out, I am actually on IMDb.
Okay.
I have a credit for Orange Girl, which is one of the projects I did last year. That's kind of a cute little short film. That's actually up on YouTube too. If people want to go search for that, type in Orange Girl. The user who posted it is FBN Dude.
Okay.
So that'll be there to watch.
All right. And that was I'd see Edward Stewart.
Yep.
Yep.
He's someone I've worked with a fair bit, and let's see what else. I don't know what days I'm going to be there yet, but there's also the Wreck Beach Film Festival,
Okay.
There's two shorts that, provided they get there in time, are going to be screening there at some point over the summer. There's The Ticket, which is a short horror film we did last year, and then Justice, which is kind of a cop drama. It kind of raises the question a little bit of, are there actually, clean lines between good and bad?
Okay.
Justice, there's actually part of Justice in my demo reel if people want to check that out.
All right. Now, obviously, you can also you can email Emily for two different things. If you want to get in touch with Emily, you can actually for general information, you can actually email info@emilyschooley.com. And also remember, everyone, she does photography as well. So if there's if you need someone to be a still photographer for your next shoot, or if you even if you just got a wedding coming up, bar mitzvah, something like that, whatever, you can also email Emily at photography@emilyschooly.com, I believe it is.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I do, I'll do family portraits, pet portraits, bands. I'll do headshots for other actors. Yep. I'm kind of happy to work on whatever comes my way.
And you are with JB Entertainment, so we want to make sure that if anyone would like to book Emily for an acting gig, go through her agent. You can actually get that person via email, talent@jbentertainment.com, and they have a phone number as well, I believe. Let's see, 519-766-5268. Do we ask for anyone in particular?
Yeah, that would be Jeff, my agent.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, he's been a great guy so far, so I'm happy to kind of be on board with him.
Excellent. So you're the more I talk to different actors and stuff, the more they say, having an agent, and then as you get bigger, having a manager on top of that, et cetera, to kind of handle all the day-to-day and the business is definitely an important thing to have.
Keep me from doing anything too stupid.
And with you, it's not a possibility; it's a certainty. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I'm a Gryffindor at heart. Bravery and stupidity go hand in hand.
There you go. Oh, I like that. That's a good quote. I think I'm going to put that on my family crest. Baisley, stupidity.
Oh, yeah, I think it's already online somewhere. So
I'm stealing it. That's all I'm saying. We don't have, like I said, we had someone who was calling in before. Unfortunately, they dropped off because probably we rambled too much, or you scared them with your forward-thinking approaching.
I do. I'm a very scary person sometimes, I've been told.
Yeah,
Usually before I've had my morning Tim Hortons, of course, because, too much blood, the caffeine stream, something.
Yeah, and I'm sure, the fact that, you probably have a penchant for opening your door still dressed in the horror makeup from the night before, and complete, fake blood and everything, probably doesn't help. But that is, I think that's all the time we're going to give Miss Emily Schooley for this evening. But I want to thank you for stopping by.
Okay, well, thank you for, letting me babble on for an hour.
Oh, no problem at all.
Stuff.
Thank you for making time for us. We greatly appreciate it. And no, you've actually, it hasn't been babbling. You've actually been very insightful on a lot of things. Particularly kind of like I said, the kind of view that you give from an up and comer, someone who's is a working actress but really is hungry for roles, trying to get out there. It's very it's very informative to people like yourself, preferably, especially the people down here in the States, and that are trying to make it as well. And I guess, because we are online, worldwide, anyone can listen to this and say, like, it's not just me. It's, everyone's going through this, and it's, whether it be because of the economic crunch or because, whatever preconceived notions they might have about acting, say we're all going through this, we're all in it together, and also, wow, I've got some fierce competition out there with that Emily Schooley. I better.
Oh, you're too sweet.
They need to up their game because they got to know who they're dealing with now. So on that note,
well, I don't know. I think the thing is, to a lot of people that don't really have an into the acting world, think it's glamorous or whatever. And sometimes you're shooting 12-hour days and you're hungry and you're tired and you're sweaty, but you got to keep going, or same with when you're looking for work. Sometimes there are no roles for you one week, but, you really just can't, you can't quit if you want to do it, right?
Well, from what I understand from some people and yourself as well, it's not a choice. It's a compulsion. It's almost,
it's totally a masochistic tendency to, keep throwing yourself back out there and have someone say, no, you're not right, no, you're not right. And, but every once in a while you do get the person who goes, yes, you're perfect. And those are, kind of the moments you live for.
Yes, and I'm sure it makes all the adversity that you go through to get to that point all the more worth it.
Oh, for sure, because, once you pick up a role and, it's, of course, you're on top of the world at that point, right?
I got to tell you, that's to be chosen, I think, is everyone's dream. To have someone say you're good enough is something that everyone likes. I know it's something that I like. For someone to sit there and say you're acceptable. I mean, that's pretty much all not even you're good enough. You're acceptable. That's pretty much what I go for. It's I think it works.
You'll do or
exactly. It's like acting, dating, the whole 9 yards. For someone to just be like, you're acceptable is definitely something that we all strive for. It's acceptance, and the good thing about acting is that it's basically an industry pretty much based on acceptance. You're good enough to be in a role, then you do the role, and then the project you're in is good enough to be picked up by something or distributed or whatever, and then it's good enough to make bank at the box office, and then good enough to be at the tops of the charts on when it comes out on DVD, or it's a constant stream of
for sure. And it's well, you're good enough this week, and then someone's going to be a little bit better next week, but then you fight for the when you're better than them for that week. But
you can't let those weeks that you're not on top get you down. You need to continue acting. You need to continue working on it. And I don't know why this turned into like an aspirational type of conversation all of a sudden, but it's just I think it's important for everyone to realize that that it's getting them out there that you're not the only one going through it, and even though a time like right now, you might not have gotten the role that you were really hoping for, but there's if you keep trying, there's going to be something else right around the corner.
Oh, for sure. And one of the things I was going to say too is if there's any actors or casting directors or makeup artists or sound men or whatever that are out there and thinking I feel like crap right now, like feel free to send me an email. We'll chat. I don't know. It's like I said, I'm totally just like I think part of the reason I want to be in this business is just really to get to know people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. One person doesn't make a movie. It's a group of people.
Oh, for sure. And it's everybody brings their A game. They bring the best they can, and let's make a go at what we have.
Exactly. So, everyone, thank you, Miss Emily Schooley, for joining us for a quick hour or so with FilmSnobbery.com. I'm going to.
I can't believe how fast the time's gone by.
I'm glad you had a good time, and hopefully you'll come back again when you're starring opposite whatever leading man happens to be hot at that particular point in time. And you'll remember
still hot, like people like George Clooney. He has kind of lasting appeal as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
George, I don't know. I'm just George Clooney, Brad Pitt. Any of you guys listening, Joss Whedon, feel free to give me a call. See, now I'm just being kind of ridiculous, but
we were talking earlier that you would be perfect for a Joss Whedon production, and I tend to agree. I think that you could definitely pull off the strong yet vulnerable, capable heroine in a production of his. I think you could pull that off. Unfortunately, though, we have to kill you off at the end.
Well, that's kind of the way it goes, right? The best ones die, but
exactly.
Now that Dollhouse has been picked up for a second season, I'm thinking. Got to be room in there for me somewhere, right?
Yeah, you can be, we'll call you Epsilon or something. I don't know. If they don't already have one, I don't even know. I watched the show, but I don't. It's funny. It's a show that doesn't stick with me, but that's a completely other tangent.
I don't know. I think the code names are all military, I think.
Oh, right.
I'm not entirely sure, but,
I thought it was more like the whole Greek letter type of situation where it was like alpha, beta, zeta. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know. But that being said. Now we're going to go off on a tangent on all Joss's stuff. That's another interview. That's like a completely opposite hour of time that you and I could talk about, I'm sure.
See, welcome to my comment about me babbling. It's, kind of what I do.
It's okay. It's my job to keep you on topic, kind of. But you do well. You babble well.
Well, thank you. I'm, got to be good at something, right?
Well, I guess as a critic, that's my job to see, right? So when A Shadow Shall Fall comes out, I may have to give it a quick. Now, normally I don't do TV shows, but I might have to make an exception in your case and check this out and make sure that your chops are up to snuff.
Oh, feel free, and I'll see what I can do too, but maybe send you guys some of the pilot or whatnot to check out.
Oh, that would be
I
great.
make no promises because it's not in my hands, but I can see what I can do.
You're Emily Schooley. You've got pull. So
sometimes I get told, I'm cute, so let me get away with it, but that's about it.
There you go. I mean, at least you can trade on your looks. I have to work for it. So, for anyone, I mean, I know that, it looks like even your friend left, so we totally, busted that interview out. No, kidding. But
scared everyone away. There we go.
I know I'm doing it good when it's like a joke for one, which is you at this point. But for anyone who is listening, you can find us over at FilmSnobbery.com. You can find this interview and other interviews we've done at www.filmsnobbery.com. You can follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/filmsnobbery if you want to follow me directly. I am twitter.com/nbaisley. I'll tell you right now, I spend a lot more time on the Film Snobbery Twitter than the N. Baisley one, so your best bet's to get us there. Again, Emily Schooley, if you're looking for more info on her, www.emilyschooley.com. That's EMILYSCHOOLEY.com. And thank you for being such a wonderful, lovely guest. And we will, I think we'll definitely keep tabs on you. And I actually have another little thing that we're going to, that we're hopefully going to involve you in the future on our site.
Yes, so, I think we've talked about that. And
yes, we have.
If you want to give details, feel free. And
it's coming up. I'm hesitant to say this because that means I actually have to do it. Once I say it, it means I actually have to make it happen. But I guess it's good motivation. We're going to be doing a new feature on FilmSnobbery.com called The Call Sheet. And what that's going to do is I don't know if it's going to be week, month, whatever, we're going to feature an actor or actress, an independent actor or actress that's trying to get their name and their face out there. And we are going to, kind of give a little bio on them. And it's I'm sure you can find a lot of the information on IMDb, but it's just any additional method of finding you is definitely something that is good. And
especially for casting directors, looking for a strong, capable, no-nonsense actor, that sort of thing.
Exactly, and we do tend to work a lot within that community, and it is kind of our demographic. So, in as much as IMDb is a good repository for people who are just looking to, get trivia on someone, or, I forgot who that guy was in that movie, I'll go see who it was. We're kind of really going more on the professional angle of if you are looking for someone who is good and is going to be a benefit to your production, you go to FilmSnobbery.com and we'll put you in contact with that person. Because we want to make sure that everyone in independent film succeeds. Because you guys really do have the cards stacked against you sometimes. With the way that the system works, and even festivals and stuff like that. It's hard. It's getting harder and harder to get your things accepted into film festivals because they get too big for their britches or whatever. And it's a tough industry out there. It really is.
Sure, and you have to make your own breaks, right? Which is something I've kind of learned more and more over the last couple of years is, if you want a project, sometimes you got to make it happen.
Exactly.
As opposed to waiting around.
And so, in the future, look for Emily Schooley, also who will be featured as our first casting call, our first call sheet girl.
Not quite in that way, but.
Well, no.
Honestly, I think it's actually. I was going to say, I think it's actually a great idea that you are doing that on the website, and, I'm not just saying that because you are going to be featuring me, but it's really good kind of to see, who's, like, check out some people who maybe don't have enough recognition for their talent or who are trying to make that break. I'm definitely talking with my hands here right now, and you guys can't see that, which is probably good.
That's okay. It's like that time I talked to Helen Keller, and she was, signing the whole thing. It was a real awkward conversation, but made it work.
That's a horrible and wonderful at the same time joke, I just got to say.
Okay, well, yeah, I did that for you then. So we're at the end of the episode. I know we keep saying we're at the end of the episode, and then we go on for another 10 minutes, but we're at the end of the episode, and I want to thank you for stopping by, and we really appreciate it. I really appreciate it, and
well, I appreciate it too. So,
yep.
Thank you guys for having me on, and thank you in advance for featuring me on the site.
You're welcome, and you're welcome, and we're going to keep in contact, and I want you to make sure you give us some updates on what you're doing, and we'll pass those updates along either via Twitter, via the site, or anything else that we can do to help out, because that's what we're here for.
Awesome. Well, thanks for babbling with me for the last hour and a bit. It's been almost, I think, an hour and a half now, so we're doing pretty good.
See, you're
this may actually be the longest phone conversation I've had in about a year. I'm usually totally not a phone person, so.
Well, I think that you should be more of a phone person because you're quite engaging, and we definitely enjoy having you on the show. And please, maybe when The Shadow Shall Fall gets picked up, because we know it will, you can come back, and maybe you can even when the 143 kind of comes into play, get a little more info on that. Maybe you can come back, and we'll talk a little bit more about that.
That sounds awesome. Thanks very much for talking to me tonight.
You're welcome, Emily. Thank you, and you have a great night.
You too. We'll talk to you soon, Nick. And bye to everybody who's listening.
Bye.
Bye.